And women obviously have other attributes that we don't have. Hopefully it evens out. This is just one where it's undeniable we're different. We are stronger and bigger and taller. And if LeBron James' team, which is not even in the playoffs yet, played against the best team in the WNBA, it would be stop the fight.
Bill Maher brought on this guy, Bob Costas, who is he's a sports analyst or sports announcer, whatever you want to call him. And he had a very woke take here live on the Club Random podcast with Bill Maher. And Bill Maher just had to call him out for his nonsense. He had to call out the BS agenda that Bob Costas was trying to push here. Let's get into this clip where Bill Maher shuts down this guy for a ridiculously woke take here live on Bill Maher's podcast, the Club Random Podcast.
One generation, that's real progress. That's a great thing. No one can say it isn't a great thing.
It's just, women just don't want to do the exact same things as men. The fact that we have to explain
as
this.
A group.
Just the fact that we have to explain this to children who have taken over the internet is ridiculous.
Well, let's take the Atlantic's position, or at least that writer in the Atlantic's position, to its logical conclusion. Then it should be this. Okay. Hey, why don't we just have one basketball team at Ohio State or at UCLA, and everybody goes out for the team?
Can you imagine what would happen if the worst NBA team, and again,
if we had one basketball team at every school or if there was no women's sports, then there would just be no women in sports. That's just the reality of the situation. There might be one in every 150 schools that makes a team. And it's ridiculous to act otherwise. Like, the only reason why women's sports exist are because they're not good enough to play men's sports. There's no such thing as men's sports. There's just sports. And then there's women's sports because they're not good enough to play with the men. So it's a good point here by Bill Maher and by Bob that if we just take these dumb thoughts to a logical conclusion and just say, hey, let's just make one big team for every school. Every single sports division should just have one team. That's no women's division, no men's division, just one team. Well, the reason why they would never want to do that is because then no women would be playing sports at all.
If you think this is some sort of put down of women, it's a put down of God or whoever created this species. And women obviously have other attributes that we don't have. Hopefully it evens out. This is just one where it's undeniable we're different. We are stronger and bigger and taller. And if LeBron James' team, which is not even in the playoffs yet, played against the best team in the WNBA, it would be stop the fight.
Yes.
What would the score be?
Yes, this is just.
Dude, I could go beat, sometimes I'll see the women's college basketball games on TV, and I'll just glance over, and it's the most atrocious basketball being played ever. I play pickup basketball sometimes. I promise you, if I could go pick 4 people up from my local gym, we could go beat somebody in the Final Four in the women's college basketball tournament. I promise you we could. It's really bad.
It's reality.
It's just reality.
Maybe the better example to give is an individual sport. And even Serena Williams, I believe, has acknowledged this.
She has. Serena Williams,
the greatest female tennis player, arguably, in history, would not be among the 50 best men among her contemporaries. Maybe that's generous.
McEnroe said the best 700.
And, McEnroe sometimes makes provocative statements, but we like John.
Hey, we own a pot store together.
Last time I saw him was backstage at your show at the Hulu Theater at Madison Square Garden. So
the Woods. Woody Harrelson's going to love me for this, but yes, I do have a pot store, and we share it. It's mostly his. I'm trying to get more, but the Woods.
Look, distinctions matter. So here's an issue related to that. The women's soccer team, the U.S. women's soccer team, has for a long time lobbied for equal resources and equal pay. And the reflexive argument coming from the right or anti-wokesters is to say, wait a minute, they're not as good as the men. And the men's World Cup generates X times more money than the Women's World Cup. Yes, this would be a good argument in Brazil. This would be a good, really, but it's not a good argument here. because it's a pretty simple Google search if you haven't been paying attention. The U.S. men can't even get into the quarterfinals. The women win the World Cup and they win the Olympic gold medal on a regular basis. Even if you think Megan Rapinoe is at times a little obnoxious, that has nothing to do with it. In this particular context, they deserve to be compensated.
Who's Megan Rapinoe?
Megan Rapinoe is the most prominent player on the women's team. Purple hair, very out.
Look, if the women's team brings in more, they should just get paid according to how much money they bring in. Like, it's as simple as that. I don't even know how the Olympics pay works. I don't know how that works. I don't know who gets the money who gets money that the women's Olympic team brings in. I don't even know how any of that stuff works. But just speaking to regular professional sports in America, it's just so simple. Let's not even look at who is better, who would dominate who in a one-on-one matchup. Who cares? It's all a business. Pay them according to how much money they bring in, just like every other business on earth. Pay the women and the men in accordance to how much money they bring in. And maybe that's one example that bucks the trend, but the exception doesn't make the rule, where you have all these people that are women's college basketball players that are saying that we're gonna go on strike if you don't pay us more money. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I'm pretty sure the WNBA loses money every single year at the current rate that these people are getting paid, because nobody watches that. Who wants to watch women's basketball? Like, I'm sorry, I would rather watch grass grow. Genuinely. That's the worst thing ever. Nobody wants to watch that, and that's why you don't get paid. And look, I wouldn't be trashing on them. Like, I don't enjoy going out of my way to say, haha, you suck at basketball. Women can never be good at basketball. Like, I don't really care to do that. It's not fun for me. It's not like a pastime. But whenever you get all up in everyone's face and you're always saying, we need to get paid more money. We need to get paid more money. We're going to go on strike. We should get paid like the men do. Then you start to provoke some anger in people, and we start to tell her the truth a little bit more. Like, hey, shut up. Here's the reality of the situation. And if you don't like hearing that, then shut your mouth. Nobody wants to watch you play basketball. You suck. Objectively, you suck.
Outspoken.
I knew that, Bob. I was testing you.
Yeah.
Again, this is a quote from someone, but obviously someone they find credible. The fact that you would write this down on a piece of paper just astounds me. The strict segregation gives the impression. These are ideas, impressions. How about this one? The researchers hypothesized that the gap they did find between girls and boys was likely due to socialization.
Yeah.
Socialization. That's why the NBA and the WNBA are so different. It's what happened in high school.
We're talking about also at the elite level. Allison Felix, fastest woman in the world, runs faster than 99.999% of all men, but not as fast as Usain Bolt.
Not as fast as high school runners who are men.
Well, she's pretty, not some of them.
Well,
some of them.
But maybe that's not right, but I've heard people in the know, maybe they don't know, tell me that that's the case, that the top male high school runners, and I don't know why they wouldn't, because you're probably the best you are when you're in high school. I mean, you're 18.
Yeah, you get additional training,
the point remains that women and men are different biologically as far as strength and stuff that matters in sports. And the fact that we are debating
if you obliterated that, then all the really admirable female athletes would be off the stage. But Allison Felix would not have a gold medal. She wouldn't even be in the field.
But how can we solve our problems when we're like stuck debating things that shouldn't be debatable to begin with?
Right.
Like you can't, like it's like being stuck in that place in a relationship where like, we can't get back to the bliss because we're still arguing about what happened in the diner.
Yeah, it is the truth. This is like, I'm so glad Bill Maher is starting to wake up and call these people out, man, because it's not just about the people who he talks to on his podcast or on Real Time with Bill Maher or anything like that. It's more about the audience that he has and the people that he's talking to, the people that he's waking up. And it's true. If you can't, it's not even just with the women's sports pay and all this other BS. Like, I can't believe that's still a thing, but it's not even just about that. It's just about establishing a baseline level of reality. And these people are not capable of doing that. And that's what Bill Maher's trying to say. Like, if we can't even acknowledge that there's only two genders or something like that, just establish a baseline of reality. Establish what a man is and what a woman is. If we can't do that, then there's no point in even having a conversation. And that's what Bill Maher is saying. Like, if we can't even establish a general understanding of common sense, then we're never going to get anywhere with any of these conversations. Like, what are we still doing? And that's kind of where I'm at too. I'm black-pilled on the entire thing. I'm just like, we're never going to agree. We're never going to come to an understanding. The left and the right are always going to be at war. It's getting worse and worse. It's not getting any better, and it's not going to get any better. That's how I feel about the whole thing. You know, I'm very, very black-pilled on it. And I think eventually everybody else will become black-pilled too. You know, there's a lot of people out there who are still trying to say, you know, we need to have more conversations. And while I agree, having conversations are good, right? But it's not for the reason why everybody else thinks it's good. It's not good because, oh, it's gonna make us come together and make the country a better place. No, that's never ever going to happen. It's good because we get to see the left's lies exposed in the light. That's the reason why they won't have the conversations, because every time they do, they get embarrassed because they don't have the facts on their side. It's good to have the conversations because they're wrong and we're right. And we get to prove that over and over again. And therefore, we get to recruit more people to our side. But it's never going to be kumbaya. It's never going to happen. I'm completely black-pilled on that. And it sounds like Bill Maher is getting to that point as well. Let me know in the comments still what you guys think about Bill Maher educating this guy, Bob Costas, for bringing up this topic of women getting paid the same as men. And he said that, you know, the female soccer team should get paid more than the men's soccer team. I don't know. I'm curious to see what you guys think in the comments about that whole situation. Let me know in the comments, though, what you think about Bill Maher educating this guy, schooling this guy here, Bob Costas, on the Club Random Podcast.